Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there. Welcome back.
Welcome back, guys. We will see if we can wait for some people to come and keep you entertained with a little tap dancing and soft shoe dance. No, just kidding there. Dan in the house. Good to see you, Dan.
Hi, Dan. Good to see you. All right. Dan, you get 2 stars today. Sorry, this is the way we have to do it now. We can't seem to schedule. It just keeps time. It doesn't even time out. It just says, oops, we can't do it. But we are able to do it this way, so we're grateful for that. Hello there, Jen and the birds. Poor Richie, Stacy Lynn, good to see you. Miss Susan Donahue, good morning from the San Francisco coast. All right. Good to see everybody. Yeah, got some good information coming in today. Miss Regina, thanks for stopping by. It's always great to see you guys. Yeah, very, very interesting stuff coming. I mean, you feel the change. You feel the change in the air. You know how it does seem like the last 6 months, there are earthquakes. They're coming up a 5 and above, and they're getting bigger and bigger. It does feel like there's definitely something shifting. And also on the West Coast feels a little bit wonky. So, the intention is that people get the help they need when they need it. And we just sort of, do what we can here.
So, checking out what's going on with the sun. KP is very low at the moment. It's just a little bit over 1. A CME associated with the filament eruption early Friday morning's been modeled. NOAA, SWPC are showing the majority of the plasma will miss Earth upstream with a glancing blow possible on the 17th. Possibility of a minor G1 storm. Nothing major there. But there is plenty of major things to go through. But right now, the Schumann resonance, the power is 46. As we could see yesterday, we had some pretty significant whiteout going on, and then a little less today, but you're still getting incidents of that. Again, the Schumann resonance is interesting in and of itself. It's kind of a measure of the consciousness of the planet. We are all part of this planet. And this planet is an intelligent being. The ancient Indian rishis called 7.83 hertz the frequency of Om. This is why in meditation in the Sanskrit and Hindu traditions and other traditions, we use that sound to cause a resonance within our bodies and our energy bodies as well with the earth itself. Because we have been so pushed out of the Earth's resonance by the way we live, everything about this system. It's been such a disconnect for us that I think it's hindered us in just countless ways. Health-wise, also with our ability to perceive things like earthquakes and storms. Nature, animals, they can sense things coming that we should be able to, too. We really should. Why don't we always? Because, again, we've been pushed away from the mother. And you could even see this in the mainstream Abrahamic traditions. Where's the divine feminine? It's nowhere to be found. It's a disconnect. It keeps us away from resonating with the planet itself, which keeps us kind of in the dark. And things are more likely to sneak up on us because we're too busy, on that rat wheel trying to pay the tax guy, right? Well, again, the Schumann resonance, it's all about consciousness. And what do we see? The planet's ascending. Its consciousness is rising. And we need to keep pace and we need to rise with it so we can move out of the Kali Yuga atmosphere that we've had going on all of our lives.
We have so much going on. What I've been putting together lately is something very interesting because I'm taking the Schumann, the pole shift, the magnetosphere, and everything else, our daily KP, and I'm putting it together and bringing in parallels to, because I think that just is really shaping our new bodies in a very big way. So on those days you might feel really dizzy, you might feel weak, you might feel lethargic, you might have a ton of energy, that I'm pulling all this information in and compiling it to get a rough idea of like why you might be feeling a certain way on any given day based on all these changes, because we are the earth. The ether around us is the same ether in the earth, and if it's being affected, you're being affected. It would just be nice to have something to point to.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if I was getting this across. I know some of you are picking up what I was talking about when I was talking about the microbiome, how important our microbiome is. If your microbiome is overrun with parasites, you're probably going to be very depressed. You're going to be perhaps manic up and down. But, again, keynote is that these parasites can control our emotions, and we don't even realize that. It's the same thing with the planet. You could view us as the microbiome of the Earth itself. And when we are acting toxic, when we're poisoning the planet, we're acting like a virus or a bacteria that is harmful to the body. So as we come into alignment with the planet, start looking at the planet as one bigger body of which we are all a part, and we shift our perspective and we start to work in harmony, working with each other and working with the planet for its greater good, then we could really change this whole paradigm. You'll see that natural disasters would start to decrease. We would have a lot less of them, and we'd have a lot less of them too if there was certain technologies which weren't being utilized to make things more intense. But again, this is part of that perspective. If your microbiome is out of balance, like you got sick and you went to the doctor and you had antibiotics, and now all of a sudden anything and everything seems to be bothering you, you're more sensitive, more allergic. Again, that microbiome it's taken a big hit, and it needs to be put back into balance and harmony. It's the same thing with the earth. There's no difference between how our body reacts and how the earth's body reacts to, again, parasitic invasions.
Yeah. Times are changing, our bodies are changing. There's just no denying it anymore. And it's very difficult to, like, the 3D world that we have been given to live in is not compatible with our bodies anymore. It seems like just kind of this natural deterioration of everything around us. And you can see that in all the earthquakes, the volcanoes, the earth is not content. And I think a lot of people's bodies also are just not content. So we have to do our best to find balance where we can. I think that's exactly what the earth is doing right now. She's trying to find her balance and all, detox, detox with all these microplastics in the air, in the bottom of the ocean, up, on some of the tallest mountains. She has ways to detox, and usually that is through fire. The lava in the ocean, at the ocean volcanoes, that can definitely bring such a deep clean.
Yes, absolutely. So, I see some good conversation going on there as well. And yeah, there's a lot of things that we can do to cultivate balance with the earth, and just understanding that reflection, as above, so below, as within, so without. This is the most truest statement that perhaps we could make. Again, the microcosm and the macrocosm reflect each other. So what we're looking at there, this is that Indonesian earthquake, that 7.7 that we had come through yesterday. Very, very large earthquake. Again, they are still rescuing people. This is similar to what we saw in Venezuela and in Colombia. I do expect, there will be more to come. And this post right here, about 10 hours after Indonesia's 7.7 quake, and we can look at the symbolism of the numbers too, 7.7, right? Another major earthquake struck approximately 28 2,800 kilometers away. This was near North Sumatra. It was a 6.9, 183 kilometers deep. So, this is interesting that it's a deeper quake, and a 6.9 at that depth. Really, I think we could have another 7.7 somewhere in the vicinity, upstream, downstream. We'll have to see how it manifests. Typically, you would usually see the energy moving in a certain direction. But yeah, I would not be surprised to see another 7.5 or maybe as high as a 7.7, 7.8 develop because of this other quake. And while we're looking at it, let's look at the actual aftershocks. These are 33 quakes here. There are 33 quakes. Wow. Okay. Yeah, a lot of symbolism with the numbers there. 33 at the moment. 32 aftershocks along with the original 7.7. And I wouldn't really call this one over here an aftershock. It's, again, 2,800 kilometers away. That's a long way away. It is kind of downstream. So, yeah, where would be the next point? I mean, looking at this, if the energy keeps transferring, maybe you're looking somewhere over here. You might be looking towards Burma, Thailand, Bangladesh, India, even into China. Certainly, I would keep an eye open if you live anywhere in these areas. But, you might see it go further up, like towards the Philippines, Taiwan, or Japan. Was briefly talking to David Dubine this morning, as he is in Taiwan. But, again, everywhere you go, we're going to have some issues at this point in time. It's just it's a busy time, and there's big changes afoot. There was also a quake over here in Spain, 5.2. We had talked about that yesterday when it happened, because we were actually live when it happened. And it's surprising that it was actually pretty destructive for a 5.2. You can see it did damage. Again, it depends on where we are talking about, and the condition of the buildings makes a big difference, as well as, is the ground sedimentary? Meaning, is it built up particles like sand and the like? Or is it a hard area like a craton? Because when you get to the harder, denser part of the crust, it transfers energy much more. So, this one in Spain, curious. There's a lot of curious things going on, isn't there? Another 6.9, and then that 5.2 in Spain that does do damage, not too far away from the area that, again, experienced all the trauma of people coming over the border unexpectedly in a big rush.
Yeah. I mean, look at everything just seems so chaotic and ungrounded. That's the word that keeps coming to me. And even, throughout our life, everything feels very ungrounded. It feels wobbly. It feels uneasy. And even though that might be, we're still all very responsible for our actions in this 3D world, which is very difficult to live in, mind you. So I do feel a lot of times, yeah, we're fighting an uphill battle, but the rules of the 3D world are going to hold us accountable, even if it's wrong, even if it's not right, even if, the 3D is basically set up to squeeze and take advantage of everyone who's trying to help anyone in the system. The system does not allow for, lifting others up. It's more like this type of energy is like, see what you can get out of the next person just for your own survival. And that's what seems to be coveted, and that's what seems to be favored. And it is frustrating. It is frustrating that really good people just trying to do the right thing, they have such a hard time sometimes. It just shouldn't be that way. But it's our reality. It's what we have to work with. And I do think coming soon there is going to be some type of equalizer. I can't wait till it gets here.
Yeah, Susan Donahue brings up an interesting thing. I was trying to find more info. They're closing the tunnel between San Francisco and the coast for 8 hours tonight, testing backup power. Oh, that is interesting. That timing is certainly interesting. Yeah, be careful, everybody. And Susan is in the greater San Francisco area. Um, Everything looks like it's lined up right. And when we look at things historically, yeah, I would not be surprised at all if we have maybe all three of the big ones in the U.S., or technically maybe even four, uh, anytime now. It really could happen anytime. It's just we're in a different time period. People had made a point to point out the electrical storm seems strange in Spain right before the earthquake, too. A lot of people are watching things. They're watching radars. They're looking for strange signals, those harpish type of telltale signs that there might be something going on electromagnetically, frequency wise. We know the bigger picture here. How about this? What the heck? This is over in Peru. They are they're running a simulation of an 8.8 earthquake. That would be a huge earthquake. Peru could get something that big. That when you're talking that type of size, you're talking like a decadal type of thing. But Peru is like on an angle straight across from Kamchatka, and Kamchatka had an 8.8 a year ago. So, does somebody know something? It's fascinating that here they are. They are preparing for an 8.8. San Francisco is closing a tunnel. There's a lot of things going on that seem like curious coincidences.
Hmm. Yeah, a lot of coincidences going on, and I've seen enough of these supposed drills actually go live to know to pause for a minute and say, oh my gosh, this could actually happen. So many of the catastrophes that have happened here in the US were stemmed right on the heels of some type of training exercise. And why is that? I mean, they put it out in the open. It's a little bit obnoxious, but again, they have people thinking that the mainstream news is authentic and real and the movies are fake. I mean, it's so backwards.
Yeah, and if I could ask something really selfish of you guys, would you all send prayers over towards my daughter who just had to go into emergency surgery? It's just one of those things where I don't know. Maybe there's some genetic similarities because she got hit with really bad appendicitis. I had it a year ago. And so she's having an emergency appendectomy. And if you could send energy and well wishes, positive vibes to Kelly, Kelly is her name, I would really, really appreciate it. Again, she has a little one too. It's tough when you're a mom, and then the mom is out of order for a little bit. It makes it tough for everybody. So I would appreciate that so much, guys.
Um, Running the gauntlet, bless your heart. We truly, truly appreciate that. That does allow us to keep going and keep coming together the way we do. It's very helpful. And also, you can donate like a $5 coffee over there on Ko-Fi. We have a Ko-Fi link, and that also enables us to come together, to bring these intentions and bring you guys together and get the prayer out to those who need it. And thank you so much for all the prayers.
Yes, thank you so much, guys, and thank you so much running the gauntlet. We do appreciate it. It has been challenging. It's challenging for everybody. It's getting very hard to make ends meet for pretty much most of us out there. And, I see YouTubers honestly talking in all these different genres about the same thing, that YouTube is making it like almost impossible for them to keep doing what they're doing, because of all the changes that are going on with the monetization. And again, YT, they could monetize your channel and not pay you for it at all. It's part of the agreement. And that is the case. Sometimes they'll throw ads into channels that are not monetizing. Wayne was sharing that as well. One of the guitar guys that I follow was just sharing that he's getting killed, and then some of the MMA guys say the same thing. It's everywhere. These corporations, they're taking more and more for themselves, and they're giving us less and less. It is truly class warfare, with the 99.9% and the 1/10 of 1%, thinking that they don't have enough. We need to support each other to make it through this time. And I do think people are going to be doing that. I think that's happening. And a lot of people do not believe what they're seeing is natural. This particular person here comes right out there and says the 7.4 quake in Colombia is not natural. It's deliberate. It's targeted. It's technologically executed. It's an act of war. And then goes into, again, CERN, HARP, and other things as well, like the fact that this area has been targeted by certain wealthy beings because it's so bio-rich. It's strategically vital. It's amazing how the more money you have, it seems like the more greedy people get. It really is true. And it's just so mind-blowing because there is plenty for everybody. Nobody should want for anything in this world. When you think about the resources that are tied up in, just take like the top 10 billionaires on the planet, if you want to include trillionaire Elon, all that energy that's locked up there could solve all the issues really of the planet. It is just ridiculous. And this is where we're not looking at things from the proper perspective of understanding that if one person suffers, all people are suffering. And if we have the ability to help somebody, and we don't, and we have total ability to help people, and I don't mean like these Rockefeller grants where they're granting money to be used to basically put up a school that's going to indoctrinate people into their belief system to feed their own system. That is not what I'm talking about. Again, we've done it their way for such a long time, and it's led to the greatest disparity we've ever seen, where literally most of the world is literally slaves to the other tiny little portion. This is exactly what they want, but they don't understand that karmically, they are going to have a backlash that might take them thousands of lifetimes to rectify. But here, this area, this person says, this was not hit by chance. This is one of the most biodiverse, resource-rich areas on the planet, a critical node in the globalist cartel's plan for total biotech enslavement of humanity. Yeah, it makes total sense. We've seen things. We saw Maui. We saw the fire there. We've seen the fires in California. We've seen the fires in Canada. We've recognized that so often the fires happen somewhere where there's a smart city planned or something else, some land that people want. It's pretty obvious what's going on. They control the weapons. They have these weapons that we don't even officially know of, but a lot of them are honestly declassified, and we can see for a fact that they really are there, and they do exist. But this person goes on, about the poisoning of the food, the burning of our forests. Wake up. This is a silent global war on not just humans on the planet, but all the living beings on the planet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, just looking at everything, feeling the energy come to a head is kind of interesting. It does feel a little bit surreal, and lately, especially with such huge earth movement, earthquakes, and it feels very what's the word I'm looking for? It feels very deliberate, like all the earthquakes going off the way they are. Deliberate, diabolical comes to mind. It's just, this one big evil plan to corrupt humanity and turn us against each other. It's just not nice.
No, and I know he's been gone a long time, but prayers for Phil Schneider. Here you go. In 1995, Phil Schneider claimed the government invented an earthquake device, citing the Kobe earthquake and 1989 San Francisco earthquake. I remember that 89 San Fran quake. It was very surprising. It was right during the ball game. He was soon found dead with piano wire around his neck. Seriously. Seriously. Not only that, but he also talked about the reptilians. He talked about the Greys. He talked about our government. He spilled a lot. And, somebody obviously kept him from talking more than he had already done. By the way, there's quite a few people that are into earthquake prediction and using different methods and means of predicting earthquakes that feel that something very big is very, very close. This is saying dangerous level of earthquake risk, strong earthquake, possible major earthquake is likely in the San Francisco Bay to northwest of the Los Angeles area. And they give us the window of 8:14 to 8:17. So be aware of that. I think with everything that we've seen, I wouldn't think it would be surprising to see something big. Hopefully, it'll be just big enough to release steam. And everybody that needs to prepare, hopefully, will take it serious, because I do think that this time it's very different. There are too many things lined up right now, and even historically, there are some eerie coincidences, which I don't believe in coincidences, that are happening that feel like echoes of the past.
Yeah, a lot of folks. I know this has been talked about a long time, but it just seems like, the arrows pointing in that direction are becoming more and more and more every day, and more of the people who read these energies and understand these energy maps are saying, okay, this is what we've been waiting for. So what do? You don't want to be afraid, but just, prepare however you can, live life as best as you can. We can all just, you can't just up and go sometimes. And sometimes people they're just ready. They want to be where they're at because they love the area, and they're okay with whatever happens they're just fine with whatever happens, and that's okay. It's probably a very peaceful state to be in, to not worry about, what might happen, and just know that, okay, I'm here until I'm not. Pretty simple. So I think we're coming to some type of a crescendo, where a lot of people are just gonna meet with themselves in such a way that is going to bring them, I don't know, enlightenment, and say, oh, okay, wow, okay, well, that's my truth. People are coming to their truth, and they're going to be okay with it, because once you finally reach the truth, you can be like, oh, wow, okay, all this fuss and this is all I had to do. It'll be, life is very interesting right now.
Yeah, and again, there's earth angels all around us. As this gentleman literally saves her life, gets her out just as the wall comes down. This is it. We're in times of great change, and it does bring great opportunity for growth. That's the thing. The thing that, having a conversation with David Devine, and he was just bringing up that this keeps echoing in his mind, and it does in mine too. The 1811, 1812 New Madrid earthquakes, and this circle of quakes that are happening right now. They're not happening in exactly the same order, but they're happening in some of the same places. And also even kind of similar magnitudes to a degree. Very curious, very, very curious. 1811, through 1812. New Madrid earthquakes in the Mississippi Valley are the biggest earthquakes to hit the contiguous United States east of the Rockies in recorded history, east of the Rockies, occurring between December 1811 and February 1812. This sequence included 3 major shocks with estimated magnitudes ranging from 7.5 to 8.8, making them among the most powerful events globally in the period.
Yeah. So, I mean, what do we think about that? I think it's just we have to look at the pattern and realize that there is a pattern that is showing itself clearer and clearer every day. And I feel like as we go out of balance, the earth is going to react to our imbalance because we're all one and the same. I mean, her energy, our energy, we came from the earth, every speck of dust and every sip of water, it's all made of earth.
Yeah, I just realized I had something boiling out on the stove. Oh, man, trying to multitask here. So the main shocks were estimated at 7.5 to 7.7 by the USGS. Some historical estimates reaching as high as 8.8. Interesting, 8.8. The primary sequence lasted about 3 months, beginning with the first major quake December 16th, 1811, followed by significant events on January 23rd and February 7th, 1812. The other part is the historical aspects, right? The War of 1812, you had England trying to get the U.S. back after the Declaration of Independence and everything, and we had that war flare up. You also had Napoleon doing his thing, and Napoleon and France and Russia were going at it. There were other wars ongoing at the same time, and then it's that whole thought in the tertiary aspect of things. Were these wars interconnected? Were these earthquakes even interconnected in some ways? Very, very interesting. These quakes were felt across 24 states, half the country, from Canada to the Gulf of Mexico, caused massive topographical changes, including the rerouting of the Mississippi River and the creation of Reelfoot Lake, literally. While the New Madrid events were the largest in eastern North America, other major global earthquakes in that era included the 1812 Caracas earthquake in Venezuela. Oh, magnitude 9.6? Whoa, that was enormous. That caused about 26,000 deaths. So, Venezuela, Caracas, 1812. That's curious. Is there connections going on? Because wait a minute, we just had those 2 quakes in Venezuela, not far from Caracas. Again, 15,000 to 20,000 people perished. They're estimating 7.7. Wow. Okay. So, I don't know. It just feels like history is echoing to me. This is a complex zone. And it's definitely changed. There's quite a few experts that have pointed out that these quakes in Venezuela, they've changed the topography. They've changed. Again, the Caribbean plate is relatively small, and some of these plates are literally, they won't be there in the future, as some of them are going down below other ones. The Caribbean plate is subducting. That's when it's literally going under beneath the South American plate along the South Caribbean deformed belt. The lateral motion is accommodated by a series of dextral right lateral strike-slip faults, which can be very, very, very dangerous and disruptive. I had chat put a few things together because we were looking at, and chat makes mistakes constantly. It just makes mistakes all the time. It can't seem to get places right on maps. So, the AI could be helpful, but it could also screw up big time. Not that humans can't. But, here you get a little historical sequence of how the quakes were going. Is there some sort of connection? Well, we could see, yeah. I mean, there is a connection through the plates. So the question is, Are we going to witness New Madrid go? I think it's a real possibility. I fully expect the New Madrid, Cascadia, and San Andreas would probably go by the time we get to 2032, 2033. It just feels like the timing is going to be coinciding with an increase in the World War III battles that are ongoing. Again, the Polish psychic Krzysztof Jakowski says World War III actually started the end of February this year, with the strike on Iran. And it's just going to kind of keep growing. Again, I think we could change timelines, especially as more and more people come online and speak out against the governments that are keeping us in continual warfare and in continual natural, quote unquote, natural disasters.
Yeah, I mean they're just going to keep it rolling. So I mean we're both very curious here, and we kind of want to know what the layout of everything is going to be. So I once again pulled the Varshaphalas for between 2026 and 2032, and Varshaphala is basically the solar year of the United States birth chart. So I'm using the United States birth chart just to kind of see from year to year what is going on, and if we can see some type of crescendo, some type of break, something happening to give us a better idea of what's in store for us. And just preliminary what we have right now this year is we have basically direction. Where are we going in this world? I think everyone is kind of wondering what the heck is going on with all these data centers and all these changes that we're going through. It's kind of murky to see the future. So when 2027, um, the energy is more of a confrontation. So who are we dealing with? So it looks like we get confronted in 2027 by who we don't know exactly. 2028, there's going to be some form of restructuring. What must change behind the scenes? So obviously between now and 2028, something has already happened. In 2029, ideological legal questioning. So what do we actually believe the system should be? It sounds like in 2029, maybe we actually have a voice. Where is that coming from? It's going to have to come from us. No one else is going to do it. Material pressure in 2030. So what can the system financially and structurally sustain? It looks like that's going to be looked at closely in 2030. 2031, identity versus the outside world. So who are we relative to everyone else? And in 2032, the energy shows a release and a redefinition. So what do we leave behind, and what does the country become next? So that seems to be the very, very clear pattern up until 2032. So 2032, it doesn't look like the height of a crisis when I'm looking at this energy, but because all the pressure is building before 2032. So 2032 looks more like a threshold after the pressure, and something where it feels like the end of a cycle. It's just what exactly has happened between now and then. Is it gonna appear to be natural? Is it natural? I don't know, but that's the astrological energy that we have, and I'll save you all the details. There's like a lot of Chinese in here where people wouldn't understand anyway, so I just wanted to get to the crux of the energy and just kind of tell you guys what I see. It's kind of like a sine wave of energy, maybe gives us a rough draft. I can always work on this and keep filling in the gaps so people can understand it. I think the hardest thing about astrology is the speaking in Chinese, where people don't fully understand it, but they do understand energy.
Yeah, Lucid Farm says they're going to put in Another one of those data centers. They're planning a 55-acre data center up by him in Michigan. Again, try to rally the troops and get it blocked, get it stopped. It could happen. I mean, it happened close to us. They had one planned about 50 miles north that got shut down pretty quick. So it is happening. People are speaking up, and it's working. So what's indices there, maybe 2032 is kind of like when we're at a new point in time and we're actually starting to build on something positive. But 2027 confrontation, yeah, I think that's referring to direct confrontation with China at that point in time. So I think what we have the rest of this year is kind of a buildup geopolitically. And then I wouldn't be surprised at all if they pull some shenanigans economically, with pulling the rug out from our feet with our ability to get to our money in the bank, if we have money in the bank, etc., things like that. And yeah, I think it's going to build towards direct confrontation with China that probably manifests in 2027, possibly in December, even this year. Or even earlier. It could be earlier. We don't know. Again, I think the way to change the timelines and to stop all that is just awakening as many people as possible and keeping your own frequency as high as possible. So, there's a lot of interesting things too. Don't forget, we had that 8.8 back on July 29th in Kamchatka, Russia. That was huge, 8.8. That was the strongest earthquake in 2025. We had a 7.8 in the Philippines on June 7th, August 14th, Indonesia that we're talking about. July 17th, we had Mexico, 7.3. April 24th, we had a 4.0, which is much smaller, but in Missouri, right basically over the New Madrid zone. Venezuela, the 7.2, 7.5, and then Colombia, the 7.4. And then we just had that 6.9. Lots of activity. And, I think it's pointing to major, major changes. The other thing, too, is historically, there, with the New Madrid quakes, there were some big volcano eruptions. Late 1808, 1809, there was an unknown tropical eruption that was VEI 6 or bigger. That is one that can cool off the atmosphere. A 7 will cool off the atmosphere. We know this because of the Greenland and Antarctic ice cores showing the sulfur ejected into the stratosphere. October 5th and 6th, 1811, my own volcano in the Philippines was going off, and it's been active now too. Soufriere, and this is again the Caribbean. Soufriere, St. Vincent, April 27th through 30th, 1812, major explosive eruption, earthquakes preceded. More than 200 earthquakes in the preceding year. Then February 1st, 1814, my own again, VEI 4 to 5. It was a catastrophic Plinian eruption, 1,200 deaths about. And then April 1815, 3 years later, Mount Tambora, the big one, VEI 7. That was a super eruption. It was one of the largest eruptions in recorded history. It caused the year without a summer in 1816. Could we be seeing something like that? I would think so. Honestly, I do think it's very, very likely and possible that we'll have that type of occurrence, culminating in a VEI 7 event somewhere. Ultimately, all the global warming that they're talking about, at some point in time, it's going to get cooler again, probably due to the volcanic activity. So, remember, we had Kilauea, that big, long eruption event. It was only a VEI 3. But that was December 2024 through January. We had Ibu, a VEI 4 in January, February of 2025. Canlaon in the Philippines, April through May of 2025. Kivolushkoy in Kamchatka, that was a VEI 3. That's ongoing for a year now. Raung in Indonesia, that's also a VEI 3. That was August 2nd, 2025. And then Luotobi, Laki Laki, that's a VEI 4. That's ongoing from July 15th. So, yeah, and we just had 6 new volcanoes come online this month. So, this week, I should say, this week. So, yeah, I think we have some serious things going on. Do you remember the Haitian earthquake? I remember it. It was horrible. When that quake happened in Haiti, former president of Haitian Senate calls out the Clinton Foundation for laundering billions of taxpayer dollars out of Haiti. We know this is what they do. They send money in with the purpose of reconstructing, and a lot of it just disappears into the pockets of corrupt individuals. This is what happened. $14.3 billion of U.S. taxpayer money. The Haitian people didn't even see 2% of that. Nothing really of any significance was done in Haiti. And many people went missing, and many little ones went missing. Now, with everything coming out from the e-files, we get a much better picture of just how corrupt they are and how evil these people are at the top of the pyramid there.
Well, and they want everyone to be like them too, so they train others to just sort of fall in line. And I think it really makes for a very distorted world, and unfortunately, so many things that we think are normal are completely not. They're just not the way that the earth herself intended for them to be. The balance is so far out of balance that, when you bring up um anything contrary to what we have been taught, it could be right, but you're not allowed to say anything because of what's been taught in the 3D. So it's that twisted right now.
And this is ongoing in Greece. As you can see, tourists are filming the wildfires in Greece. It's not just France. France is still burning, by the way. Spain, same thing. Wildfires ongoing. The wildfire situation is really severe in so many different places. Obviously, Canada too. This is Croatia. Look at these fires up on the hills. That is so apocalyptic, isn't it? Man, and again, what's starting these fires? Well, tons of arson has been starting the fires. Some could be natural, but we know people have been arrested for arson. And I already kind of blew this news. 6 volcanoes more have gone active in this past week. So new activity in Asan in Japan, Etna in Italy, Fuego in Guatemala, Karangetang in Indonesia, Talika in Nicaragua, and Tokachidake in Japan. Just keeps getting busier. By the way, there was a bolide that went through, and it registered on all these peaks. Glacier Peak, Mount Rainier, Mount St. Helens, Mount Hood. Volcanoes instruments recorded the August 14th 1 a.m. bolide tearing through Earth's atmosphere fast enough to produce massive infrasound wave. Every volcano heard something different. They weren't erupting, but they heard this. This is interesting. Again, we're in basically a meteorite shower as we're talking. It's curious. Is it just a rock? Or could this literally be a ship? Or could this literally be some sort of technology? A seed, perhaps. Could this be something to trigger these? Because I'll tell you what, this is what Cindy got, is that when you see some of these wake up, that's when we've gone to that next stage, and that's when the war manifests much closer to home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's like we're seeing it kind of creep up and creep up and creep up, and with Saturn positioned where it's at right now, a lot of things are coming to a head, and if you're struggling in this world emotionally, physically, it's probably because you're just not in alignment. There's something in your life that has you out of alignment. And I'm sure it has something to do with the way you think things should be going. But we keep in mind, we have been taught backwards since we were born. So you could be out of alignment and doing everything right and still not understand why you're not doing well, but it's because your soul knows you're out of alignment. Your soul knows on that level. It's not going to give you the answers. Unfortunately, we have to comb through our own belief systems and what we believe is right and go back and kind of do a do-over and say, well, am I really okay with that? Is that really okay? And figure it out.
Yes, and I think for sure Mount Shasta is a very sacred place, and Shasta is, it's said that it's the root chakra, right, of the earth. Also, it's said that there are Telosians, literally beings that were here on Earth in Lemuria's time that went and created a base under the mountain. There are interesting sightings on Shasta, but also Mount Rainier. Mount Rainier's had so many UFO sightings that have been documented going back to 1947. Literally just so many historical sightings there, and also Bigfoot sightings. And this is what's fascinating. This is a sailor from the USS California on Mount Rainier. It's just fascinating when we think about this and inner Earth civilizations that will be making themselves known to us perhaps over the next decade. We're in interesting times. They say it's getting so hot, nuclear power plants are being forced to power down and governments are freaking out. Well, we know governments freak out when they have agendas and when they also want to raise more cash that they siphon away from us and, get their vacation homes with.
Indeed.
This is just the reality of it. But, again, it's operating through fear, and that's what they do. There's really no need for nuclear power. I don't think so, And here's Macron. What's he doing? France has got wildfires going on, and he's out on a jet ski. Yeah. But, again, what's his real job? It's just to play a part. He's playing the part.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's making people angry. That's his part, I mean, when people are going through severe stress and severe angst, and you would think the normal thing to do, if someone could do something about it, like he would be able to do something about it, he would, but he's not. He's out on a jet ski. So, I mean, it's there to bring about more grief and more imbalance.
Chad says, is the Agartha network under that area? I would think so. I think there's many places, Tibet, Shasta, Mount Rainier. Many of these places are zones where these beings come and go. A good friend of mine grew up in Peru, and he lived very close to mountains that they all knew. Extraterrestrials were coming and going all the time. They would see the light ships, they'd see the more physical ships. Beings would be known to go inside the earth there and then come back out. All the villagers in his village knew this. It was just common knowledge. So, yeah, absolutely. There is a huge network inside the planet. And there's many, many beings in there, much more advanced than what we are on the surface. Disease outbreak hits Spain's migrant-packed enclave. Gastroenteritis, scabies, impetigo have been confirmed among the migrants in Ceuta amid the warnings of overcrowding, inadequate sanitization. Yeah, it's less than ideal living circumstances. And, again, feeling compassion for all these people that are in situations that make them desperate enough that, if somebody offers them some money to go run over there, they don't have any better options. So they go and they run over there. The nonstop wars create nonstop opportunities for money laundering and the like, and this is also part of the big revelation. They keep us from rooting and grounding and being able to blossom and become something more than what we are.
Yeah, and I do think that that time is coming to a head where there is going to be some type of equalizing energy in effect. I just don't know exactly what that's going to look like.
Meanwhile, in Cuba, the grid's basically collapsed. And so, what are people doing? Well, they can't sleep well inside. So, they're going out. They're sleeping on roofs. They're sleeping out in parks. And they're, spending nights out under the stars, which can be a blessing. It can be an amazing blessing. Haven't gotten to spend nights out there in the desert. Cindy and I, when Zeke was around, Zeke and Sassy, we'd go out into the desert and sit in the back of the pickup truck and just watch the stars go by and whatever else is going by. And when you're out in that type of darkness, man, there are so many ships just out there in the sky. You can't miss them.
No, you can't. It is pretty incredible when you do get to see it on a nightly basis, and there's really no explanation for it, So this world is very, very full.
Yeah. So this guy, he's waiting for the city to fix the potholes while they're installing 200 new flock cameras to watch them and track them. And he's making the most out of it. Hey, there's a little volcanic activity going on underneath. There's a nice little hot tub for you.
Keep searching for that silver lining.
That's it. That's it. Life gives you lemons. Make some lemonade. And this kitty was rescued from the Colombian quake. The cat's name is Pollux. I don't know if there was a caster. There probably was. That's, by the way, Gemini. And this kitty was saved. So this is a beautiful thing. Again, there are so many earth angels amongst us that are simply here to help others. And, thank goodness for that.
Indeed.
Loka samasta sukhi no bhavantu. May all beings everywhere be happy and free, and may my thoughts, words, acts, and deeds contribute in some way to the happiness and well-being of all beings. May you all be kept safe and have abundance, and may that abundance grow. May it overflow. May the world system be shown for what it is, and may we remove it so that we can move forward into the light together.
Okay, I want to say a special thanks to Running the Gauntlet. And if anyone did donate over on Ko-Fi, I will grab a list and make sure I thank you appropriately as soon as I can. So thank you if you have, and as soon as I get a name, I can say that. But let's put out good intentions and do some dings here. Hold on. You all are amazing. Source bless and namaste.
Much love, guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Source bless. Namaste.